Hey guys, I hope you're doing well. I'm doing pretty good myself. I just recorded a 10-minute or so video of about the importance of doing things in depth and rather than kind of rushing through things, you do take a slower approach. You slow down. You just try not to be a perfectionist or really don't allow yourself to care so much about how good your performance is and rather be focused on learning instead and I guess making sure you have a growth mindset. So I did that video, right, and then 10 minutes in just stops the recording, says that my storage is full. So here I am, I'm restarting, and I did not write a script for that video. It was a great video. I did not write a script for it, and so now it's just gone. I don't have any notes to look at to re-jog my memory about even what I said in that video. It's just 10 minutes of talking. It's like say you talk to your friend for 10 minutes and then like after that 10 minutes he asks you to go over everything you talked about. It's like, of course I'm not going to be able to restate everything I just said, but we'll see. We'll see where we go with this. I believe that there is incredible value, value that most people have never had the fortune of seeing for themselves in doing things in in depth and doing things in great detail and not rushing things, and the way that it opens up your mind and allows you to feel, I guess, well, it does feel peaceful. It feels peaceful to do something as well as you can and really go all in on it. And well, I feel like it's important to understand that, well, for me, life is feeling a little bit complicated right now, so it's hard to go fully in depth in anything I do. I'm going in pretty good depth, right? Like when I'm writing for class, doing an essay or whatever it is, writing, just answering questions on the homework, excuse me, I'm not able to go into complete depth because I feel a little rushed. I know I have more assignments to do and I only have so much time, and I have well, I have other classes, more assignments. It's not like I just have one class. I have I have multiple things that I know I want to do, need to do. I have work, I have school, I have the actual classes, I have the homework, I have to go to the gym. It's just a lot to juggle, and that can lead to me feeling rushed and not being able, or not feeling like I have time to do my best. So when I rush these things and don't get to learn in depth, particularly I'm talking about classwork, but also well, if you're journaling and you want to get to know who you are and understand yourself in depth, you have to journal in depth. And if you feel like you're rushed, you feel like you don't have time, well, if you've only set aside like 20 minutes, you're not going to be able to know who you are in real depth. Or even, I guess journaling isn't even 100% about knowing who you are. There's so much that goes into it, so much that you can learn from journaling, and it's really about connecting ideas and, well, improving your articulation and your ability to express those ideas is a big piece of it. But I feel like the joy that comes from it is getting an in-depth understanding of the ideas that you find interesting. So for me, I find psychology fascinating. I love learning about how the mind works, and I love applying that to my life to improve it and make it so I'm happier, more peaceful, and I can better help other people do the same thing for themselves. So when I journal, I very often write about psychology and write about well, different things I've learned from reading, and then also different things I've learned from living and experiencing. And it really you're going to get a much more in-depth understanding of psychology, or again, like I said, whatever you're interested in. This is just for me. Say you're interested in, well, if you're an athlete, you can get a more in-depth understanding of your sport by journaling. You can write about your practice and what you learned, and you could write so much, or so much more than you think you could, about what you love. And every people, I just feel like people don't understand the depth that they can go to with in really any field, any area of life. There's so much more to life than people see, because people see kind of just the surface. People only scratch the surface. Well, nowadays there's so much information, there's so much pleasure that you can like find. Everybody wants to take like one bite of each thing and then move on to the next, and they never get, well, they never get in depth in that one thing, because they're picking, or they're instead choosing to do a little bit of everything rather than doing one thing and actually getting to know that thing really well. And I can't stress this enough. I know that's where the value in life is. I know that the value in life is in doing one, maybe two things to the absolute best of your ability, and learning about those one or two things in as much depth as you can. I find that when you do this and you have a deep understanding of one thing, you'll have a much deeper understanding of all these things that you don't put time into learning as well. Like, everything seems to, there's just laws to the universe, laws to how the world works, right? So if you get really good at doing one thing, if you get really good, you essentially get good at learning, then you can go and learn anything else, because you know how to learn. You know that it's not like how you learn changes based on what you're doing or what the activity is. It's always going to be the same. That's not even what I was trying to say, but that does definitely relate. The point that I'm trying to make is a little bit hard for me to articulate, because it is pretty complicated, but maybe I'll come back to it. We'll see. But essentially, I just find that I find that everything is much more similar than people seem to think. And well, if you're only scratching the surface of everything, it's easy to say that everything's very different. But if you go in depth on one thing, then you could see other people start to talk about what they go in depth on, and you can start to form like similarities. Say you go really in depth on psychology. I'm going to use that as an example again. But then you read what the type of thing the type of things that people say about them going in depth on other fields, and you can really, it's just so hard to explain, but it's all so similar. It's all so similar. It's all well, I just feel like everything in life is connected, and everything, you can go from one subject to the next, like, and I think that the things that you learn in like one subject, you can use that information to help you in a different subject. So, well, what I've heard before is that when you're becoming a doctor, or you're learning in one really specific field, so you're becoming a doctor but a specialist specifically, so you go into one really specific topic in health and medicine, whatever it is, and then apparently most people get really specific at that, they narrow down, learn that in as much detail as possible, and then they widen back out, because excuse me, eventually they see like that everything, well, their understanding of everything increases so much because their understanding of that one thing was in so much detail. And again, like I said, everything is very similar. So if you learn one thing in a lot of depth, you can begin to learn other things very quickly, because again, you've seen it before. It was just with a different thing, a different activity, a different subject. And well, I obviously have a lot more to learn about this idea, and I have a lot more to learn in general. Clearly I can't articulate it perfectly, but you know, it is what it is. I feel like you guys got something out of this video. I feel like maybe I inspired you guys to go in more depth so you could see what I'm saying with your own eyes, right? Rather than to just hear what I'm saying. Because again, you're never gonna understand the value of going in depth if you just listen to people talk about the value of doing things in depth. And people say it all the time. But they don't say it maybe in as much depth as I'm saying right now. It might just be, well, because they're talking about it in their professions. I'm sure every single college professor you've ever had, or a lot of teachers that you've had, tell you to go in depth. They tell you to go in depth all the time, but they don't say why in as much depth as this. They don't talk about depth. It's because that's not what the subject that they're teaching. But it seems like every professional knows the value of going in depth. Everybody knows about, not everybody knows the value of going in depth, but everyone who's successful knows the value of going in depth. Everyone who's happy knows the value of going in depth. Everyone I guess those are the two important things. I mean, I see success as happiness, and happiness is the same thing, because my version of success is happiness. I'm not too worried about money or material things. But essentially, you get what I'm saying. I going in depth and happiness are very closely linked together, and I feel like it's time that, well, I need to start doing things in more depth. I've already been trying, of course, and I've already been doing it, but again, more depth is the key there. And you guys, go do things in more depth. If there's something you love to do, but there's also something else you like to do, cut out a little bit of the time from the thing that you like to do to put into doing the thing that you love in more depth. That's what I'm gonna have to do. That's what I had to do. I quit wrestling so I could do, well, things like this in more depth. Not particularly YouTube, but so I can write in more depth and develop my understanding so I can spread information to you guys and just other people in general. Not just YouTube, but, well, I want to be a psychiatrist. I want to learn and develop my ideas and thoughts. So going more in depth in my schoolwork, in my writing, like on my own time, in my reading on my own time, and in reading my schoolwork, just essentially in learning in general. I had no time to do the things that I like to do. I only have time to do the things that I love doing, and I think that's a very good way to live life. That decision has made me a lot happier. So think about it. Think about allotting more time to the things you love and less time to the things you like. Have a good day, you guys.